Alright, so today we are going to be finishing off this heart. So what I did is I put it in the mold like this, added the flowers. So now what I am going to do is I'm going to add some colored resin or do some clear with some alcohol inks in this mold. And then I will be setting this on top to give it that complete 3D heart look to make the perfect charm necklace. And what I will also be doing is I will be mounting these into their little pendants. Now I know that honeybees are protected, but I found this little guy in the pool and he was already dead. So I will not be selling this, but everything else you can find on my Etsy once it's all done. And then this one, it had came out of the mold prematurely. Like he didn't set right, so we're gonna pretend he doesn't exist. And I also have this clover that I would like to be doing. Now these all glow in the dark. This one does not glow in the dark. And then I have this heart I will be setting into a pendant today. And then I have this dragonfly. I had done all this last night. We will be finishing him off. And let's get started. So we won't be using too much resin today, so what I'm going to do is I'm only going to measure out maybe half or 0.5 or maybe a little over that. So I'll set my cup on top and I'll hit tear. That way it doesn't measure the weight of the cup when I start pouring. And I'm going to start with my resin first. And I use the Unicone. I really like this stuff. I've tried other things, didn't really like it. It didn't really turn out like how I wanted to. Start measuring. 3, 4. I'm going to do a little bit more. 7, 8. Okay. Oh, 0.9. Good enough. Alright. So, what we're going to do is press tear again. And then we're going to measure 0.9. My bottles are almost empty, so this is the long part. Alright, so we're almost there. There we go. Okay. So, now we're going to start mixing. Okay, so good practice would be to mix it and then pour it into another container. But that's just good practice. That's not what I'm going to do. So once you start stirring, it will get foggy. And you're supposed to stir it for a certain amount of time, but I usually don't. I just go by eye. So it'll start to get foggy, and I make sure that I scrape my sides because I'm not pouring it into another container. I want to make sure everything is nice and incorporated and evenly distributed. So I'm going to just start stirring. And when it's ready, it will become more of a crystal clear. It'll be more clear. It won't be as foggy. So, look at that horrible transition. But, also look how clear that is. So what I like to do is, because it has a lot of bubbles in it, I like to set it off to the side and get my other stuff ready. So here we have my bag of pendants. So we're just going to get out what we're going to use for those guys over there. Alright, so we will be doing these guys today, and I made sure that when I used the mold that I used the sizes that I knew I would have over here. So I'm just gonna, yeah, do it that way. So we have a heart. Not the right size. I'm going to blame the mold for that, but we will make it work. Our square, I'm also going to have to trim some of these down, like this one has some flashing, so we'll trim it down, make it look good, but that one looks really nice. And then for the little bumblebee, it's a little circle. Apparently I don't have a little circle, but what I could do is put them in a big circle and just, you know, make it work, I guess. I don't know. He's a work in progress. So as of right now, we can do the heart and the spider. And then this guy will fit right in there. So we can do him as well. Bumblebee, we're going to set off to the side. We'll do him another day. And Yeah, there's our clover. And I actually, oops, never mind, just kidding. That looks really nice. All right, so now that we have our ones that we're going to do, we're just gonna, all right, so now that that is cleaned up, I'm going to get some sandpaper. And what we are going to do, I'm going to start with the spider first. We're just going to sand down these little edges where the flashing is. Because it's not too bulbous, because it's not too bulbous, I'm not going to worry too much about the back part. There we go, perfect. All right. And it's still a little malleable, which is why it doesn't want to sand very well, but as long as you're being nice and gentle, you'll be okay. All right, so that looks fabulous. Now we're on to the beetle, which is just some round sanding. And he's got a little leg poking out also, so we're just gonna, there we go. All done with that part anyways. Right, and he should be able to fit in there nice and easy now. Rough up the back, that way make sure that the resin bonds. And do the same with the spider, just in case. Oops. Just kidding. We don't want to be saying oops here. Okay. And then the clover is basically good. We're just going to do the back. Very gently, because he's still a little malleable. Which is good, because if it's still a little malleable, then you know that your resin is going to stick pretty well to it. So, there we go. Last but not least is our heart. But I am not going to worry about doing anything with this. Actually, I'll do the back a little bit. Because the edges don't need to be sanded down, because it's going to fit in there pretty nice. So, good enough. A little scoring on the back. Okay, so we're going to set that to the side. And now we are going to set these into place. Alrighty. Okay, and as you can see, our little bubbles have already started to rise in our resin, which is perfect. So we are going to set the spider first. So what I'm going to do, not to make any of you guys nervous, but this is my first time doing it, but it's pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to take a little bit of resin. You don't want to do too much, or it will squeeze out the sides. So I'm just going to do a little bit in the center. And then make sure that you don't put it in there upside down. So you got the top of your spider just like that. We're just going to press it in. And there we go. We do have a little bit of flashing on the side, which is perfectly fine, because we can just, look at that. It's like it wasn't even there. And that looks pretty darn good to me. And I really love how you can kind of see through it and see the design of the square underneath. And that looks fabulous. So we are going to set that aside, let that cure. Next we have our clover. So again, teeny bit of resin. I'll make sure I spread it out, because when you press it in there, it's not guaranteed it's going to get into all spaces. So I try to make it a little bit around. I'm going to set the clover in. Because this is a little flexible, I could just kind of, yep. There we go, pop it right into place. Press it in. And the resin is still a little malleable, so if I do press on it, it does leave a fingerprint. But as you can see, that kind of goes away pretty much immediately. So we're going to let this one cure off to the side. Next we are going to do the heart. Now with the heart, I'm going to add a little razzle dazzle because it is kind of larger than the thing itself. So I'm going to put in a little bit more than the other ones just because I know it's not going to fill the whole thing. And let's see here. I'll drop some white alcohol ink in here just for fun before I press it in. Boop. Oh, okay. I guess I'm gonna do 2 drops. Okay, so then we're gonna take the heart and blop her in there. Look at that. Happy accidents all around, always. Now, I'm going to keep this nice and flat, but that looks fabulous. And then this, because it is kind of like a neon color, it will also glow under black light, which is really cool. So, last but not least is our little beetly dude. This guy I was super duper excited about, so really happy about him. Now I'm hoping he will set fine in the resin because he is kind of rounded. Make sure it's not upside down. There we go. It looks like he's going to do just fine. A little bit on the side, but that's okay. That's mostly just green you're seeing on the back of that. But look at that. Super happy. Okay. So now that those are done, we are going to move on to this dragonfly. So basically my plan for this was just to do another layer of clear and then watch for bubbles. I'm just gonna pop some bubbles in my cup. Actually, let's do this first because I kind of forgot about it. So now because this is also a little rounded on the edge, I'm not going to fill the mold all the way. I'm going to do maybe a little over half because this rounded part will be inset in the mold. And we want to make sure that it's completely covered. So fill it to about, let's see, there is perfect. And if it flashes over, that's perfectly fine because we can just trim the edges and then finish it. And I am going to do white behind this. I'm not going to mix it in there just for the sake of having the alcohol ink design. But I am going to swirl it around the edges. That way we make sure we get a nice seam. Alright. So now we are going to take our heart. Just set it in there. Making sure that it gets covered all the way around because we don't want to get it in here and then see air bubbles in between the 2 pieces. Alright. Check that out, guys. Oh yeah. So that one's pretty easy. Not too hard. My thing is now just not touching it. But that is gorgeous. I can see this on like some old lady walking down the street. Because you know, old people, they like their flowers and hearts and stuff. Like an old lady that smells weird with like the really, really strong perfume. That's what I can see. Okay. So, now the dragonfly. I'm going to start by pouring it over the head. That way we don't get any bubbles. That way the bubbles can work out of there first. And we are going to continue filling the mold. A little bit more over here. Alright. So now what we are going to do is I just want to drop some white in here, like I did around there. I'm just going to do a little bit, a few drops here and there, no particular area. I'm just going to let that do its thing for a second. Alright, so now I have some sapphire blue. I'm going to drop in here. I'm not going to do a whole lot on this. So I want to keep mostly the white background, but I would love to have a pop of color in this. So we're going to let that do its thing for a little bit. And then I'm going to take some white and drop it inside of the blue. And that will be it for our color on the dragonfly. Alrighty. And there we are. So that's pretty much all of our projects that we are doing today. Thank you for visiting my channel. Thank you for watching this video. I highly appreciate it. You could find me on my Etsy, which I will link in the description. You can find me on my TikTok, which I will also put my username in the description, where I do a lot more resin stuff on there. And I also have a Facebook page called Ashley's Art Gallery. There is 2 of them. The one with the less views is mine. But that's where you can find me. All of these will be up for sale. So I'll see you then. Thank you for watching.